A very good morning, dear students. Welcome to e-learning classes of Sacred Hearts of the subject Business Studies. Dear students, in the previous lecture of Business Studies, we have discussed the topic public corporations, also known as statutory corporation. Dear students, if we talk about the very fast recap of the last discussed topic, then statutory corporation is a body corporate formed by a special act of parliament or by the central or state legislature. In the simple words, what we can say, it is a particular body corporation that have been created by passing of law. And the examples are Indian Airlines, Air India, State Bank of India, LIC, Food Corporation of India, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, etc. Thereafter, we have discussed a lot of features of public corporation, such as created by passing an act in the parliament. Powers, objectives and limitations are defined in the act only. It operates under the total control of state or central government. It is a separate legal entity, etc. Thereafter, we have discussed about the different merits of public corporation, such as administrative autonomy, quick decision making, service motive, efficient staff, and professional management. Thereafter, we have discussed about the demerits, such as autonomy on paper only, lack of initiative, rigid structure, unfair practices, and in the last but not the least, we have discussed about the suitability of public corporations, such as where monopoly powers are required, where the special powers defined by the act are there, and where the undertaking require regular grants from the government. Now, dear students, today we are going to discuss about the next topic, that is the government companies. Initially, what is the meaning of government company? So any company in which at least, that means the minimum, 51% of paid up share capital is held by the state or central government or partly by state and central government. Minimum is the 51%. It can be 60%, it can be 80, or it can be the 90 or 100% as well. Now see further, the government companies are governed and ruled by the provisions of Companies Act 2013. Like the any other private company, the government companies are bound to follow the provisions of Companies Act 2013. And for example, Steel Authority of India, State Trading Corporation, Hindustan Machine Limited, and so on are the examples of government companies. Now the features of government company, or we can say the features of BHEL. BHEL is a one of the important government company. So it can be asked like the feature of government company, or it can be asked state the features of BHEL. So the very first is the registration. So if we talk about, then the registration of the government company is also compulsory. It is done under the Companies Act 2013, and all the provision of Companies Act are applicable to the government company as well. Second, ownership. The government company is wholly, that means completely or partly, owned by the government. The share capital of these companies is owned by the government of India. Who is having the share capital? The government of India, and in the name of President of India. Now see the third point, management. If we talk about the government company, then it is managed by BODs, that means board of directors, who are nominated by the government, and the government has the authority to appoint the majority of directors because majority of shares are held by the government only. Next one, separate legal entity. That means the government company is separate, is having the separate existence apart from its members. Next one, ministerial control. As the name is signifying, ministerial control, that means the government company is subjected to the ministerial control. The concerned ministry makes appointment of directors and used to look out the activities of the government company. Next merit, financial autonomy. Financial, that means something related to finance and financial resources. Autonomy means freedom. So the government company enjoys borrowing powers. That means it can have borrowings in its own name. It can raise capital by the issue of various securities, and also it is free to use its revenue for its growth and development activities. So all these were the features. Now we will discuss about the different merits of government company. So the very first is the administrative autonomy, as we have discussed earlier as well, that the relatively higher degree of freedom is being given to the government company, because here the political interference and the official interference is comparatively less. Second merit is the greater flexibility. The government company is managed, financed, and audited just as any other private sector company, and it can therefore secure greater flexibility, freedom of operation, and quickness of actions in running of the enterprises. The next merit is efficient staff, as they are financed by the government and even they can have the borrowings by their own name, so they are not having any shortage of resources, and by providing the higher amount of resources they can appoint the efficient staff for the proper working of government company. And the last one is the collaboration. Collaboration means combination, means mixing up. So the government companies can avail and accommodate managerial skill. That means they can hire the managerial skill, technical know-how, or the expertise of the private sector enterprises by conveniently making a collaboration or joining with them. Now the demerits of the government company. So the very first is autonomy on paper only. The first point in the merits we have discussed about the administrative autonomy, and it is the just opposite point of that, autonomy on paper only. If we talk about the government company and its freedom and flexibility, then it is something that is offered only theoretically. In the reality, the government is the major shareholder, and that is why it used to dictate the terms and get the things done by in its own way. That means the government or the representative of government used to modulate the working of the government company as per their own benefit and ease. Next demerit, that is the political interference. The government company are treated as the personal property of the ministers, politicians, and the interference of ministers is frequent, and that is why it become very hard to work in the government company in a proper way. Next demerit, all the decisions have been taken by the board of directors, and the next demerit is related to that only. See, board packed with the government representative. Most of the BODs, board of directors, are filled by the government representative. So they always, as they are appointed by the government, so they always try to please the government and not effortful for the efficiency of the government company. Now the last topic, that is the suitability of government company. First, where government wants to control company in private sector. Second, where government wants to go for the collaboration with the private enterprise. And the third and the last one, where the project require government planning and funds. So this is all about today, dear students. Today we have discussed about the government company, its introduction, different features such as registration, ownership, management, thereafter separate legal entity, and so on. Thereafter we have discussed about the merits such as administrative autonomy, greater flexibility, efficient staff, collaboration, etc., and demerits such as autonomy on paper only, political interference, and board packed with the government representative. This is all about today. God bless you all. Lots of love.